I can bring you in warm, or I can bring you in cold.
This is where the fun begins.
Hello there.
Hello and welcome to Jedi Knights, the official Star Wars podcast for JoyClicks. My name's Mike Connors, and as always, I am joined by my illustrious co-host, Christian Buckley. How are you, my man?
Doing all right, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. Great Monday morning here. I feel like
Mhm.
actually pretty energized, which is something that I don't normally feel on a Monday morning.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm doing good. It's funny. I set an alarm for 7:50. For some reason, I naturally woke up at 6:50, and then I went to
Okay.
sleep again, obviously, as you would. And I think I might have slept through that 7:50 alarm, and I woke up at like 8:30. It was a weird morning, but I have a coffee. I'm ready to talk Star Wars. I'm excited. Feeling good.
Well, it's like your body probably just needed some more sleep, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you just had to let it happen.
hmm
Um, But I was gonna say, like, I forget, are you my Buryaga or my Chewy? I think I'm your Chewy, right? And you're my Buryaga.
I know I'm not your Chundar. I know
That's
we
true.
settled on that, but I forget. I fully
Fair,
forget.
fair.
I think
Well,
you
I
wanted to
think,
be Buryaga because I thought you thought Burry was cooler.
yeah, did you know they came out with like this is just like a random aside, but like they've been doing character videos for like a lot of the High Republic characters, and they just came out with one for him,
That's
which is
awesome.
kind of interesting.
Yeah, I knew
Yeah,
they were doing like the High Republic show, like as like a sister show to the Star Wars show, but just about the High
yeah,
Republic. But I didn't know they were doing character profiles. That's cool.
yeah, no, it's cool. I haven't watched any of them, but I feel like they would be interesting to watch for sure.
hmm
Well, I think we should just get this show kicked off. We don't have much news today, but we have another bracket coming at you.
Hell
Uh,
yeah!
today today we're going to be ranking the Star Wars Jedi. So in we're gonna be going through the bracket just like we did last week with the Star Wars video games. And we're gonna see who is the most powerful, greatest Jedi. So I'm excited for that. But first, I think we should do what we always do, which is from the Jedi Archives, a segment in which both Christian and I choose an article from Wikipedia and we bring it to an episode of Jedi Knights and share it to one another and teach each other about a certain part of Star Wars from a very technical canon point of view. So, Christian, why don't you go first? What'd you choose today?
Today, Mike, I chose a game. I chose a game of
Okay.
the Star Wars universe, not a
Hmm.
game that we play. Well, a game we do play, but a game within the universe of Star Wars, if that makes sense.
Okay. Sure.
How I called it, Pazak, but again, how every character in the game refers to it differently as Pazik. Um,
It's like how they also pronounce Kashyyyk.
yeah, with three Y. Was that a weird? Never mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyways.
um, Pazik was an ancient game of chance in which players drew cards and tried to achieve a total as close to 20 as possible without going over. Players could alter the result of the draw by playing special cards from a side deck. Pazik was notably played at the Kanto Casino and Racetrack, Cantonica, where players could either create a side deck at the casino's specialty store or use their own after approval by the staff. Pazik was also played at the Alcazar Cantina on the planet Akiva and in Maz Kanata's castle on Takanana.
Interesting. I wonder if there's like a scene in Force Awakens of people playing
I
this game.
I bet there. Now that you say that, I'm pretty sure. Like when we cut to one of the spies, maybe the
Ah,
spy for the Resistance, they might be playing
interesting.
Pazik. So
So this is a game that was featured in Knights of the Old Republic,
it
correct?
is. That is how I was introduced to it. Ooh, we have a list of appearances actually.
Oh, interesting. So I think it originated in Knights of the Old Republic, I think.
I believe so. Kotor is the first experience I've seen of Pazik, but Pazik was appeared in Dooku Jedi Lost. It was mentioned only, appears in flashbacks.
Hmm.
Aftermath first mentioned. Oh wait, no, maybe in canon. Um, Star Wars Uprising, Star Wars Squadrons mention. Aftermath was appearance in Life Debt, Victory's Price, the other Aftermath, Phasma, a Canto Bite thing, and
Interesting.
Star Wars Last Jedi Expanded Edition. So
Very interesting. I actually liked this minigame in KOTOR because you had to like go around and collect the cards, didn't you?
Yeah, so that was an optional thing to do. And in my play, I did one night. I played Pazak for like half an hour, and
Yeah.
I went bankrupt, and I said never again. It's just blackjack, but you can like put like an Uno card down to like twist the fate.
Yeah.
That's really it, but it's fun.
Yeah, no, it's exactly like blackjack, but I can't believe you lost all your money on the at the terrace Pizak tables.
Yeah, yeah. So, but
Gambled
what?
it all away, Christian.
Yeah, what did you pick this week?
This week I picked the seismic charge.
Mm,
I don't think we picked this before. I may be wrong though. But they're, according to Wikipedia, devastating weapons that drew sound in from their immediate vicinity and exploded in concussive waves of brilliant blue light, shattering everything in their wake. Of course, Jango Fett used these against Obi-Wan Kenobi. He had them stashed away in the Slade One during their dogfight near Geonosis, obviously,
hmm.
and it was featured in season 2 of Mandalorian, I believe, episode what 6 or something.
Probably.
Um, yeah, the one with Bill Burr.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, that was a really cool thing. I remember seeing that and like being amazed for a second time. I remember being a kid watching Attack of the Clones and being amazed at this because it was just such a cool sound that they emitted.
Hmm.
Um, and seeing them in The Mandalorian was just big hype.
Yeah. I don't know if this is featured on the page, but this is my favorite thing about the seismic charge is that um Attack of the Clones, I think, won an Academy Award for sound mixing or sound editing, so my headcanon is it won the award specifically for the seismic charge.
That's so funny. I honestly like it is really, really unique and
Yeah.
like very, I don't know, like it just like rocks you to your bones in a
Hmm.
way that like a lot of things haven't before. So
I really appreciate the cut to silence for a second before it goes off. You know, it's kind of it reminds me of the
yeah,
Holdo thing. Like it goes silent and then it happens, and you're like, but the Holdo thing is more the visual equivalent to this. You know, it's like it's
yeah,
very much. I view them in the same light. I think.
yeah. The Holdo, what are they called? Like the Holdo maneuver or
Yeah.
something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah, that is, and the seismic charge are very similar for sure. But
Hmm.
the seismic charge always has a place in my heart.
Absolutely. Oh.
So yeah, I think we should just move on to the news for today. Like I said, it was a pretty light news week, but we do have like one interesting rumor I think that we'll get to at the end of our news segment today. But the first one that I picked up was that Indira Varma, who played Elaria Sand on Game of Thrones, is joining the cast of the Obi-Wan show. So this is something that Deadline has reported. We are not sure of her role exactly, but obviously this Obi-Wan Kenobi show is going to take place about 10 years after Revenge of the Sith,
Hmm.
and is going to show what Obi-Wan is doing on Tatooine. So interesting. I don't know. I don't really know what to make of this. I think she's a good actress for sure. She's got like like a mystery quality to her in a
Hmm.
way. I don't know if
So
you've watched Game of Thrones.
I watched 2 seasons and then the finale. Um, I don't think I
Mm,
ever got to her character because I did not get to Pedro Pascal's character either. And I see a
yeah.
picture of the two of them together right now from that show.
Yeah, she played Pedro Pascal's like wife.
Okay. So I did see, Mike, on Twitter, there were some people that were speculating that perhaps she may be playing in a flashback or something Duchess Satine.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
That's kind of interesting actually.
Yeah, now I'm looking at pictures of her. Like, I can see it. I think I could definitely see it. Like, she has similar features, I think. Like, facial structure. Like, I could see her
Yeah.
place. Like, and Game of Thrones, I'm assuming she can pull off, like, a British accent or something, you know?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. This is actually very interesting. I didn't put two and two together, but like, yeah, you got to think that Obi-Wan Kenobi, while he was, chilling on Tatooine for a while, he was definitely like grieving the loss of Duchess Satine and like his unrequited like love with her and stuff
Hmm.
like that.
Yeah,
So,
because, you and I speculated that the Obi-Wan show, what we want it to be, is very introspective, character study, and that's going to involve a lot of like dealing with his trauma and grief over the past 30 years of being in this order, right? So like
oh,
maybe.
yeah, that would be really interesting. I
Hmm.
mean, it's also possible that, she's just playing like a brand new character, somebody that we've never seen before.
Hmm.
I know, I mean, we're not really sure exactly like where this show's going to take Obi-Wan, but you know, she could be sort of like a companion character to him in a way if they go on some sort of like adventure.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the Duchess Satine thing I think would make a lot of sense. I'm looking at a picture of her as well, and I can see it work for sure.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Yeah, well, it's just an interesting sort of tidbit. I think we've sort of like we've talked about the ups and downs of the production of the Obi-Wan series, but is this currently filming right now? I'm like I have a hard time keeping track sometimes.
I believe so. Like, I think they were doing some. Remember, there was like that rumor people saw like the set being built in January or something. So like I could see. I think by now it's probably shooting. I think by now, you know, because there's been all those pictures also of Ewan McGregor getting like ripped for the show, like doing lots of workouts. He's been posting all these pictures of him with like shredded arms. So like,
Has he?
yeah, look up Ewan McGregor workout or something. I'm sure you'll see it as one of the first things. But
I'll see it. Dude, that would be really cool. I just want like a grizzled, like desert grizzled Obi-Wan who's just like absolutely ripped. Like you know what I mean? Like that'd be super cool.
Yeah, he can't rely on the Force anymore, so he has to rely on his body.
Yeah, he's got to rely on his pecs.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that's cool. Obviously, you and I are both super hyped for this show. Whenever it'll come out. Take your time, just make it good. So moving on to our next piece of news. This is just something that I saw. We don't really have to spend that much time on it, but it's interesting that The Rise of Skywalker is still being nominated for awards because they were nominated for 12 Saturn Awards. I'm not really familiar with the Saturn Award. I don't know if you are, Christian. But
I don't follow a ton of award shows outside of the big ones. Saturn Awards, I definitely recognize the name. The Saturn Awards are for, I think, science fiction specifically.
Yeah, I think it says the Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror Films.
Okay. So yeah, maybe, I don't know how often they meet. I don't know if the Saturn Awards is a yearly ceremony, but like maybe they had to skip last year's because of COVID. But
yeah, it does say that the eligibility period was from July 19th, 2019 to November 15th, 2020. So that's a pretty long time.
Yeah, probably extended from COVID, but yeah, it makes sense. There's only a handful of huge projects like this that fill those categories every year, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I was gonna throw out there. I doubt a ton of the Marvel movies would meet eligibility, depending on how strict they are with their rules. Like maybe like a Thor or a Guardians could fill that void, but yeah, it makes sense. If there's a Star Wars project, it gets some noms, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, some highlights. Daisy Ridley was nominated for Best Actress. Adam Driver and Ian McDiarmid were nominated for Best Supporting Actor, Best Director for JJ, Best Screenplay, Best Editing. You get the drift. So, yeah, interesting. Also, The Mandalorian and I believe The Clone Wars also picked up some nominations for the Saturn Awards. So
expected.
Good on them.
Yeah.
Congrats. I was just confused to see that 2021 we're still talking about The Rise of Skywalker. But here we are.
Like, go on Twitter.
Yeah, well, I mean, like,
no, I know.
Like, you know, real Academies Awards. Like, I thought we had to move past it by now. We'll never stop talking about The Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, we will not.
No, never. So moving on, like I said, light news week. I saw this. Actually, I'm gonna get to something less cool first. I just wanted to shout out that Victory's Price, which is the third Alphabet Squadron book, was released recently, as was an excerpt for Thrawn Ascendancy Greater Good, which is the second book in the trilogy that takes place while Thrawn is in the Chiss Ascendancy, which takes place like way before the other books. It's confusing. But I just wanted to shout that out.
Nice. You were you reading that Thrawn Ascendancy?
So I was reading the Thrawn trilogy, like the first new canon Thrawn trilogies. So like Thrawn and then Thrawn Alliances and I think Thrawn Treason. But I never read Thrawn Treason. I still have to read that one. The first two were really good. Gotcha. I remember I liked Thrawn Alliances a lot more though.
And it's still
Thrawn.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say Thrawn Ascendancy, that trilogy is interesting too, because it sort of just like delves more into Thrawn's background and everything.
And it's still Timothy Zahn writing all of them, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think he has like control over that character when it
Cool.
comes to like novels and stuff.
Very cool.
Yep, but I think at some point I want to read the rest of the Alphabet Squadron trilogy.
Hmm.
So thought it would be interesting to just shout that out here.
Yeah.
So I want to move on to this because I saw this on Twitter. I thought it was really cool. Some fan took the episode 9 screenplay written by Colin Trevorrow. I don't even know how to say his name.
Trevorrow, I believe.
Trevorrow, written by Colin Trevorrow, and is creating it into a 7-part webcomic series called Duel of the Fates, which was the name Colin Trevorrow gave episode 9.
Hmm.
So I just thought this was really cool. The person who did it, I forget their name. Let me just look it up really quick here.
Looks like Andrew Weingartner.
Andrew Weingartner, yeah. He did that, and he's releasing it. I don't know when he's releasing it, but he put on Twitter the cover for one of the issues and also a few panels, and it just looks really interesting. What do you think about this, Christian?
Yeah, I think this is interesting. It kind of reminds me of the old EU in a way. That's just the energy I get from this. And obviously, I think both of us had, and a lot of the internet had some things that they liked about, what was released officially, unofficially about the Trevorrow cut or script, I should say. So yeah, adapting this in a visual medium, I think is cool because I know, I think the way I absorbed the Trevorrow thing was, I think around the time it leaked, I think Jenny Nicholson did an entire script read through. So I just threw that on one day and was listening to like her do the read of the script, and it did sound cool, right? Like it sounded like there were some things that would be worth exploring there. So I think the art looks cool. It's a cool thing that this fan's doing. I hope it doesn't get taken down.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I mean,
if they're not selling it, they probably won't take it down.
Yeah, so it says on the Force.net story here that I have pulled up that the first the first 6 issues of the 7-issue series this person is creating are online for free right now.
Cool.
So yeah, you could read it if you want. We should do a read through once he does all 7 of them. Talk about it. That'd be cool.
Definitely, yeah. Because there were some cool things. Like I'm seeing on the cover of, I think it looks like issue 3. It's like split between Rey and Kylo, and on Kylo's side it has like the spider thing that he was supposed to see in the lake on Mustafar at the beginning of the movie. Remember, like all that weird stuff. Like it's cool seeing that stuff get translated.
For sure. I just also think the art style is pretty interesting too. It's not like traditional comic style. Because he shared like, two pages from it with a few panels. But it's just really cool. Like I just love the dedication and like the fan creation that goes into this, because I know a lot of people, enjoyed the story beats that Colin Trevorrow made and his script and everything. So it's kind of cool to see it get its own visual medium,
Yeah, for sure. Because I like, as cool as some of those ideas were, and as awesome as it seemed, it finished Finn's arc and did stuff like that. But it will never get a visual screen adaptation. So this is the next best thing.
Yeah, it's the next best thing for sure. Maybe one day, out of nowhere, Disney will say, we're going to reboot the sequel trilogy and we're going to actually adapt Duel of the Fates for the screen one more time. So hopefully that will happen, Christian.
We'll see.
So moving on to rumors in the Force, this is something that I saw. It kind of picked up a bit of traction. I don't know. Did you hear about this, Christian? I heard a rumor that Ewan McGregor is possibly joining the cast of the Cassian Andor TV show. Huge news, if true. Big if true. Did you hear about this?
I did, and you know what I thought of immediately, Mike?
What?
This is Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. The Jedi Temple has fallen. Like, it's just going to be the holocron. I guarantee you it'll be a live-action version of his message.
Yeah, probably something like that.
Yeah.
It'll be like a super small cameo if it's even true. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't expect him to show up like uh who was a side. I don't expect him to be like Agatha in WandaVision, right? Like it's just some guy.
Oh, right.
You know, it's gonna be somebody who's there. He's gonna be like, he's gonna have a cameo. You know, he's not gonna be a returning character. I will be shocked if he's at like a war table for this show.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Absolutely shocked. That would be. I feel like that's like I don't want to see that. Like I really don't want to see like this may be like a controversial opinion, but I don't really think it is. Like I'm fine with just seeing the Obi-Wan TV show, and then I like literally never want to see that character on screen again.
That was my
Like,
gut feeling as well, Mike. I'm with you. Like, obviously, I love Ewan as Obi-Wan. I will take anything as anything you can do to reason him playing Obi-Wan more. I will take that. But
yeah.
I like. Again, it's a rumor. We don't know the full picture. I'm assuming it's just a cameo like this. We don't know how it's being worked into Andor. Presumably, Andor is taking place like what? How many years after
Yeah.
Revenge of the Sith? Like I don't know how likely it is to reason it, but yeah, keep it for the show, keep it for whatever. But this will most likely be the holocron. I bet you that's what they're doing.
I also think that it's good to note that the first outlet to report on this was the Illuminerdi.com. They said it was an exclusive report with like I read the article with like no sourcing whatsoever. So I don't know if you trust the Illuminerdi.com. I certainly don't.
So it's funny you say that. I don't know who the author is, but I know last week the Illuminerdi also broke from it was an exclusive, and I've been given reason to believe the author of that article that the MCU is rebooting the X-Men under the title of The Mutants. So that was within the last month as well, like within the last week, really. So maybe they just got two really good tips back to back.
I mean, maybe, but like I was reading it and it just like doesn't say like where they like where they got this information from.
Right,
Like
right.
usually they'd be like, oh, like you know, like like I don't know, like an inside source at Lucasfilm, right? Like something like that.
Yes.
But yeah, I see nothing like that. So, you know, who knows? We'll see, we'll have to see. You know, like I said, I'm not really sure if I'm super hot on Obi-Wan Kenobi sort of returning in any major capacity outside of the TV show. That's just me. Like, but you know, if it happened, it has to be Ewan. Can't be anybody else.
Yes. I said on the show, I'll take it in the show. I'll take it in the New Hope reboot with all the young actors.
Wait, you want a New Hope reboot?
No, I think honestly, I said this before, and I think you have the same reaction. We have essentially, you know, we have de-aged Mark Hamill, but just throw Sebastian Stan in a wig, and like by the time this would happen, Millie Bobby Brown would probably be the age of Carrie Fisher when she shot this movie.
Okay.
We have prequel equivalents for that entire cast. I feel like it could be a fun thing to do. Maybe. You know, we got a young Han, we have an easy access to a young Leia and a young Luke. We have Ewan. You know, I'm not saying it replaces it, but it's like, hey, you know what? You know, we need to make a couple billion. People would see this. They love Ewan. The outraged people would see it. Like, it's inoffensive. It's a fun time, you know?
I would definitely go see it. And honestly, I feel like if that happened, I would kind of be hyped for it, to be honest. Like if they remade A New Hope with like modern technology and stuff, that would be mind blowing.
Yeah, I'm not saying like it erases the old one from canon. It doesn't replace it or anything. It's like, oh no, it's just a fun thing we did. We had all these people. It's like you might as well, maybe for like a 50th anniversary or something of the movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think honestly, and maybe we could talk about this on another episode as like a discussion, but like I think that, you know, Star Wars is going to be around for forever. You know, it's just made a lasting impact on culture that at some point they're going to have to reboot the franchise. And they're going to have to remake A New Hope, which is interesting. But yeah, well, maybe we could talk about that on a future episode, Christian. But yeah, I mean, if you have anything, I don't know if you have anything else to say about that, Christian, or anything else news related that you want to dive into. Otherwise, we can go right into the bracket.
No, like you said, light news week. I'm seeing still more hype for the Bad Batch. Hell yeah, can't wait for that.
Yeah, yeah,
But really, that's been it. Not much.
yeah. Oh yeah, the Bad Batch thing. We know what Fennec Shand looks like in that
Yep,
show now.
looks like me not
Um,
when. Like,
yep. Though, like her head does look a little blocky, though.
well, yeah, it's translated into that Clone Wars style, right? Like I would say that.
Yeah.
Uh, Clone Wars Obi-Wan looks like Ewan, but in that style,
Mm.
right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is what it is. I think it looks great.
Yeah,
honestly,
me too.
I'm excited for it. So let's do the main event here. This is something fun that we're trying to do here on Jedi Nights for the month of March. Sort of like a March Madness month for us here. We're going to be doing, I think, a different bracket every week, right, Christian? That's what we came
Yeah,
up with.
all March.
Because we had a really fun time doing the video game one for sure, and we wanted to just sort of see what else we could do with the brackets. We think it's a fun way to talk about Star Wars and everything like that. So this week we're going to be talking about the top Jedi. So really, Christian and I came up with a list of 16 Jedi just off the top of our heads, from books, from movies, from video games, from TV shows, really all across. We really ran the gamut of all of the Star Wars media and picked out what we thought were the top 16 Jedi, and we're putting them in a bracket. So we sort of seeded them by what we thought were power rankings before, but like they're not super. It's not a scientific poll. Let's just put it
Yeah,
that way.
there's no Jedi power rankings on the old Wikipedia to immediately, reference.
Yeah. So I don't know how we should do this. Should we just say what all 16 contenders are real quick and then just go through each matchup?
Sure.
All right, so we got Yoda, Anakin Skywalker, Mace Windu, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Ahsoka Tano, Qui-Gon Jinn, Luke Skywalker, Rey, Cal Kestis, Ezra Bridger, Kanan Jarrus, Plo Koon, Shaak Ti, Jocasta Nu, Kiari Mundi, and Avar Kriss. So I thought that was a pretty solid list.
Yeah, I agree.
Sweet. All right, so you gonna say something?
No, I was gonna say let's dive in. First matchup. First seed is Yoda. 16th seed, Avar Kriss.
It's a tough one.
Yes. So immediately my mind goes to obviously it's Yoda. Yoda's number one seed for a reason, right?
For sure.
Avar Kriss, underdog, rookie of the year, perhaps. But if you look at what she did, I do think it's impressive what she did, in Light of the Jedi. And I think that power, similar to, you compared it to Bastila's, battle meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Very practical, from my experience in KOTOR, that's a valuable commodity. A lot of people wanted that. Not many people are chasing after Yoda,
That's true. Yoda's in this time period as well. And what is he doing? He's just chilling on Scarif. He's like on a beach somewhere. Where is he? Avar Kriss is just battle meditation, all up in Hetzal Prime.
Mm-hmm.
But Yoda's just hanging out, sipping some martinis or something somewhere. But I think overall though, Yoda is just like a legendary being.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, they call him like the isn't he like a grandmaster, or something like that?
I think in the prequels it goes they don't say it out loud, but I think he is. I think.
Yeah, I think he's like top dog of the Jedi Order, which makes sense. When you're 800 years old, you got to be pretty nice with the Force,
mm-hmm.
if you're a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, though, is what have we seen Yoda do?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
In the prequels and the original trilogy. He just lifts the X-wing out of the swamp.
Yeah, Mike, who else can do stuff like that? Like a human, if they're seeing their child in danger, can lift a van, right? Big deal, Yoda. All right. What has he done?
True,
really?
true.
What has he done? He pushed a Force lightning back at the Emperor, oh, okay.
Yeah, right. He can hold the Force lightning in his hands. That's what he can do, Christian.
Yeah,
And also he can jump really high, though he's really small.
yeah.
Um,
And like, no disrespect to Yoda, I'm just saying when you look at this matchup, I think it's a much more difficult question because Avar Chris did she saved a galaxy, or not a galaxy, but a star system.
she saved an entire star system, and I have to say, like, they're just like, yeah, all right. So Yoda does become a Force ghost, which we know is a very hard sort of process to do. It takes a lot of training, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So there's that, right? That is a display of some serious Force power. But other than that, other than just being wise and sort of like also he was just completely blind to everything that was going on.
Yeah, I was gonna bring that up next, dude. Like, whatever like old-fashioned notion he was hanging on to or whatever, like, he allowed the Jedi Order to fail and fall. Maybe Mace Windu was the one that was in his ear the whole time, but
yeah,
Yoda, like, I don't know, man. I think if you're just evaluating it on canon appearances, I haven't read every Star Wars comic. I don't know what Yoda did on Tuesday 47 BBY, right? Like, maybe he lifted a Star Destroyer out of the atmosphere. Like, I don't know, but
yeah.
I do think if we're evaluating, because I think you have to look at this too, like how much content we have with Yoda, the things he's done. We have one book with Avar Chris so far, and she saved a star system, right? Like, I feel like if it's like pound for pound, I feel like I might lean to Avar Chris. I'm sorry.
I mean, you do have a very strong argument, Christian, because like what we see of Yoda, we know that, like, they tell us,
A lot of
right, that
talk.
he's like a lot of talk, but not a lot of showing. And you know what? Pound for pound, like you said, Avar Chris saved the Hetzal system. So I think this is the first upset and a major one at this. The 16 seed upsetting the number 1 seed. Avar Chris, I think, takes it over Yoda.
I don't see how you can say anything else, Mike. I really don't. Like, I know it's Yoda, right? Like, I know, but really, it's a lot of talk. It's a lot of talk. The MVP has to be upset by the rookie itself. Like, Shaq was replaced at one point. He was.
Shaq was replaced at one point. Yeah.
So.
Awesome. So yeah, let's move on. So that's a huge upset, actually.
Yeah, that's huge.
That's like a crazy upset. But hold on, I actually just accidentally exited out of the tournament here. All right, so the next matchup that we have going on is the number 8 seed Rey going up against the number 9 seed Cal Kestis, and I actually think this is a pretty solid matchup.
I agree.
Here's the thing.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say, I view them very similarly, so it's funny that they're at the 8 and 9 seed.
Yeah. So I think Rey, we have 3 movies to watch her, grow as a Jedi. I guess, like, is she a Jedi? Yeah, she's definitely a Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
So we get to see her grow as a Jedi, and, she's pretty powerful. She does some pretty crazy stuff. She is, the blood granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine, who is also a pretty powerful Force user. So we know that, like, for some reason, genetics plays a role in the Force, right? So she definitely is powerful. However, Cal Kestis, maybe not powerful at the beginning of the video game, slowly regains his Force abilities. And I would say, he goes up against Darth Vader head to head and survives, which is like pretty intense. Like that's some stuff right there.
Sure. I don't
know what you think about this.
I think with Cal, while he does like hold his own for a bit against Vader, he also has a lot of help. Remember, because I believe the second sister, like, either she doesn't attack Vader, but like he's preoccupied with her. Seer charges at Vader, really disorients him, and I believe it's Seer's the one who crushes the tunnel at the end, right? That's like her big moment. Wasn't that what happened?
Yeah. But I mean, I mean, I don't know, but like he is able to escape Darth Vader, and we know Darth Vader is like he's like the apex predator at that point.
Sure. And if you do want to like bring in genetics to it for Rey's benefit at least, I think you could also have to look at on the same page. She held her own against Kylo Ren multiple times.
Oh yeah.
Slight difference in that Kylo was never trying to kill her, but at the same like again, if you're trying to compare that scenario, because I can see why you would, Cal did a lot of running. Like I know it's Vader could use the Force or whatever, but it's the confines of making a story with video games. But
yeah, for sure.
I do think it's also something worth bringing up that Cal's unique thing is Force visions, right? And I believe in one of the art books, it was confirmed that that's what happened to Rey when she picked up the saber. Like she saw its history. I think that was the same thing.
Interesting.
So I like Cal, but I think again, if we're looking at this from just of what their career has been, I do think it's Rey.
I would have to agree with that. She did go up against, she did beat Kylo Ren at a lightsaber duel without any training, which is like pretty impressive given the fact that Kylo Ren was like full-fledged Force user at that point. And also defeated the Emperor for a second time, which is pretty top tier, I'd have to say. Yeah, I would say Cal Kestis, though he is like, I would say, a pretty powerful Force user. When he understands his full capabilities and everything like that. But Rey, pound for pound, I think takes it over him for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so we got Rey winning that one. But next up, we have the number 4 seed Obi-Wan Kenobi versus the number 13 seed Shakti. So I had to put some prequel Jedi in here. So this is not the first appearance of like a tertiary prequel character going to show up in this bracket, but so this is an interesting matchup, and I think it's just pretty obvious who's going to win this one.
Yeah, like obviously I have a Kenobi bias, but
yeah,
didn't Shakti die twice? And they like couldn't figure out which way to kill her. Like I know she's very powerful. I know she's very powerful, and she obviously was influential in the Clone Wars because she oversaw the the growth and development and training of the clones. Nothing to sneeze at. Right. But it's Obi-Wan Kenobi. I gotta give it to him.
Yeah. I mean, just like when you put them up head to head, it's really no contest. Obi-Wan Kenobi, just through what we've seen, is a way more powerful Force user. Shakti, no slight to her. She definitely is powerful in her own ways. But nothing to sneeze at when it comes to Obi-Wan Kenobi, for sure. So the next matchup, number 5, Ahsoka Tano versus number 12, Plo Koon. This is like a match made in hell, honestly, because I think Plo Koon, wasn't he the one who found Ahsoka like when she was a youngin? And like, no, what's up?
I don't think this is canon anymore. I think this was a Legends thing, but Plo Koon is able to like wield the weather in a way so he can basically use Force lightning, but as a good guy. It's not the same source he's tapping into, but again, not canon, I don't think. But I love Plo Koon. He's like my favorite, second tier character in Star Wars. Clone Wars gives him a huge bump. He's obviously very powerful, but at the same time, like, it's Ahsoka. Same way with Obi-Wan, I got an Ahsoka bias, even though, like, literally Plo Koon, if he was against any other person, I would be saying it's over, Mike. Plo Koon has this, but I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, let me just play devil's advocate for a second. Like, how powerful with the Force is Ahsoka, really? Like, or has she just been elevated because, like, of her status as, Anakin Skywalker's Padawan? Like, she's definitely an extremely, like, she's very good with the Force. Like, she definitely knows how to use it. But, like, I think we've seen more powerful Jedi for sure. I think that's part of her character, you know. I feel like that's part of like who she is. She's not like necessarily the best at the Force, but she makes up with it. Makes up in other ways, like her empathy and like other things. I don't know. I just don't know how powerful she really is. Um, though I think when it comes to Plo Koon versus Ahsoka, she definitely takes over him for sure.
Yeah, I think again you have to look at strictly canon and look at what they've done, right? Plo Koon, what he survived in space.
Hmm.
Um,
So has other Jedi.
yeah,
Other
what else did
other
he
other
do?
other Jedi have also survived in space. He dies on Cato Nemoidia.
Yeah, and
So
worth reiterating, I fully believe if Plo Koon was not in a starship, if he was rolling up with Mace Windu, Palpatine would have been dead, would have been killed, no
yeah,
Empire. But yeah, I think it's probably Ahsoka. I think it's Ahsoka.
I think it's definitely Ahsoka. So Ahsoka Tano wins over, the person who found her,
Hmm.
Plo Koon. Next up, we have the number 2 seed, Anakin Skywalker, versus the number 15 seed, Kiari Mundi.
Now, Mike, hear me out.
Oh, don't play this game,
No, I'm
Christian,
kidding. I'm kidding. It's
because
Anakin. It's Anakin.
it's Anakin, hands down. Sorry, Kiari Mundi. Though we love you and we love your eagerness before you were brutally shot in the back,
Hmm.
Anakin Skywalker is obviously more powerful than you. So that's just that. Next
Yeah.
up, we have the number 7 Luke Skywalker versus number 10 Ezra Bridger. Um, what do you think about this one, Christian?
Um, am I wrong in saying it's another obvious one? Like, do you
No,
have a case for Ezra?
no, I really don't. I
Okay.
I think as like honestly, I really don't. Like Luke Skywalker has sort of turned into like a legendary figure in the Star Wars universe because he is just so powerful in the
Hmm.
Force. And there is nothing like the end of The Last Jedi where he literally projects himself through the galaxy to another planet just by using the Force. It kills him, but that's pretty insane. I
Hmm.
don't think we've ever seen something like that before.
Yeah.
Uh, Luke Skywalker, I think hands down, this the son of Anakin Skywalker. Like, come on.
Yeah. Becomes a legend twice, Mike. Remember this. Like, he becomes a legend once because he turned Darth Vader. Comes a legend a
Mhm.
second time because he actually earns it. You know, he does. He lives up to that legend status by giving hope to the galaxy once again. So yes, I think it is Luke.
Yeah, I always liked what Ryan Johnson said about like he based Luke Skywalker's character off of like King Arthur
Hmm.
and everything. Did you ever see him talk about that, Christian?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I guess like King Arthur, like he's like part of the Knights of the Round Table, right?
Hmm.
Um, like after his like adventures and everything, like he becomes like an old man and like sort of like takes on like a Luke role where he's sort of
Ooh.
just like, yeah, it's interesting. He like based Luke's character in The Last Jedi like off of like that like late stage King Arthur. Like very interesting.
Hmm. That's
I
very
think.
cool.
Yeah, definitely look that up. But for sure, I think Luke Skywalker takes over Ezra Bridger. Moving on here, I think we have a really interesting matchup. Mace Windu versus Joe Costanu, the librarian of the Jedi Archives. Uh, Mace Windu, interesting Jedi because he does feed off of a lot of what's it called? Sith energy, right? Some dark side powers, not Sith energy, dark side powers
Hmm.
rather.
Hmm.
And that sort of clouds, I think, his status as a Jedi, but also makes him really powerful. So
Yeah, I think Jocasta knew. I know in the comics. I think you mentioned that one time that she like holds her own against Vader or something, right? Doesn't that happen at some point, or did I say that? There's like a
no,
video game.
that happens in I think the Charles Soule Vader
Right,
comics.
right. So like, yeah, clearly she can, defend herself. But Mace
Yeah,
Windu, isn't he like the guy? Like he's the warrior of the Jedi Council, right? Like he's the one.
yeah, he's absolutely like the most militant out of all of them for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you made an interesting point when we were talking about Yoda earlier about how a lot of what Yoda's beliefs were sort of seemed to be Mace Windu's sort of whispering in his ear.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think he had a lot of impact on the fall of the Jedi Order. I think in some ways it was his fault.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, he was just the catalyst for, you know, a long time of just corruption and everything.
Right.
But when it comes to just like pure power and everything like that, pure force power, Mace Windu is extremely powerful.
Yeah, so I think this is the one. Honestly, I think my decision on this comes down to the way we're evaluating these. Is it strictly based on power, or is it based on like the Jedi ordeals? I mean, ideals. Sorry.
I don't know.
Because like, if Jocasta Nu could like, she sits on all of the information that the Jedi Order has. That is a big deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
She probably knows most of it off the dome. She's able to hold her own against Vader. And I think it's worth looking at, okay, if she can use her mind and, you know, linguistics, if you will, to hold her own, as well as physical capabilities, at least for a bit, against a Darth Vader, you know, versus Mace Windu, who, very strong, short-sighted individual.
Very short-sighted.
But a ton of influence. I feel like this could go either way for me.
Yeah, you know, the way that you put it, Christian, if you think about it in the terms of like who was the most Jedi in their ideals and like who was like the keeper of those ideals, I feel like Mace Windu sort of acted opposite to those in many ways. Sure. And Jocasta Nu literally like kept the tradition alive. And like you said, she did indeed at least hold her own against Darth Vader of all villains. So I think what Jocasta Nu may lack in raw force power versus Mace Windu, she sort of makes up with like her dedication to the cause, you know, in a way that Mace Windu maybe didn't.
Sure. Like I could see like it's tricky because with Yoda we're told all these great things he's done, but Jocasta Nu, at least in that one comic, we have visual evidence, right? You know, it's like we can cite that. Yoda, it's like he fought Palpatine and ran away, like.
Yeah.
So I do think this. I do think might be the trickiest one we've done because it's very much what do you prioritize, right? And yes, they both have their issues with hubris. You know, Mace Windu thought the Jedi were impossible to be broken. Jocasta Nu was like, if it's not in the archives, it doesn't exist. Like,
true, yeah.
But I don't, Mike. I will trust your wisdom and judgment on this one. Which one do you think should move on?
You know, I always thought Jocasta Nu was just an interesting character. The way that they fleshed her out in Charles Soule's book, I think, gives her a bit more depth. She sort of like tried to salvage as much as she can from the Jedi archives after the Purge and hid it away. Luke Skywalker eventually found this. This is like all like in the canon and everything. So she was extremely influential for sort of like keeping that tradition alive. And like we mentioned, we have an actual reference point to sort of point at in terms of like her physical force power, which is important when it comes to, you know, wielding it. I think overall, this is definitely an upset. I think Jocasta Nu may be the better choice over Mace Windu.
I'll agree. I will sign off. I think we've defended it well. Mace Windu, maybe you're still alive, but who's to say? You know, it's like we don't really know what you've done recently.
Jocasta Nu is definitely not alive. Though.
Hey, yeah, she survived the Purge for a little bit, right?
For a bit, yeah.
Can't say that about Windu.
No, you can't. Yeah, he didn't even he wasn't even around for the Purge. Not even a second of it.
Yeah. So, he was the first victim, basically.
Yeah, he was the first victim. All right, so the end of round one, this is the number 6 seed Qui-Gon Jinn versus the number 11 seed Kanan Jarrus. And I think this is an interesting bout as well. Qui-Gon Jinn was the first Jedi to sort of understand how to live in like the astral plane after death, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Kanan Jarrus is like a very powerful Force user, and is sort of responsible in a way for keeping those ideals of the Jedi alive. So, like Mace Windu and Jocasta Nu, I think that this has like sort of similar dynamics, except Qui-Gon Jinn wasn't really that evil, whereas Mace Windu sort of had that streak going in him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think this is a really good matchup too, Christian. What do you think?
I agree. I like both these characters. I'm more familiar, I think, with Qui-Gon, mainly
Yeah.
because I loved him in Phantom Menace, and I read an entire book about him. I still have to finish Rebels, but
Yeah.
Qui-Gon, I think you also have to look at what he brought on, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
he's the one that was like, no, we have to train Anakin. Like, we have to.
Yep.
And look where that got us. Right? Like,
Yeah.
I think that's worth considering if we're looking at actions, what you've done for the Order. But at the same time, like you're saying, this massive development in the Force, right? Creating a Force ghost.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's worth considering. Yoda couldn't even do that, right? Like,
Yeah.
Yoda learned how to do it, but Qui-Gon, through his vigor, was able to figure this out, and his knowledge of the Force. And
Yeah.
he held his own against Maul for a while, right?
For sure. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
seemed like he just got tired at the end there.
yeah, kind of caught off guard, right? Maul was fighting dirty.
Yeah.
Also, am I wrong, or at one point did they not say that Count Dooku was the most skilled saber duelist ever in the Order recently?
I think I did say that. I know that like his like ultimate ability in Battlefront is
Right.
like his dueling ability.
Yeah, so like you'd assume that the apprentice of the
Yeah.
best duelist would also do very well with a saber, right? And in those flashbacks in Master and Apprentice, we see him like sort of on the front lines of many battles,
Mhm.
right next to Dooku. So I
Yeah.
think on a physical level and on a what you've done for us lately level, I think Qui-Gon, he's got it, right? Despite the fact that he brought Anakin into the Order, and we saw how that turned out, but
Yeah, that was sort of like a hazard of his commitment to sort of expanding the Force, right? He was super interested in like prophecies and all that kind of stuff, as we saw in Master and Apprentice, and he was sort of obsessed with that. And in a way, it made some pretty good strides in terms of learning about the Force, like we talked about. He learned how to live after death through his intense study of all this stuff, but that also gave us Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader as a result. So it's very nuanced, very hard, but Qui-Gon, I think, over Qui-Gon over Kanan Jarrus, I think this is an easy one. Qui-Gon for sure.
I agree.
All right, so let's move on to round two. At the top, we have the number 16 seed Avar Chris against the number 8 seed Rey. Notice I'm not calling her Rey Skywalker, but so what do you think about this one, Christian?
Again, tricky. I think while we've only seen one outing with Avar, she did accomplish something great. But on the same side, Rey, we had 3 movies to watch her grow, and she was able to destroy the Sith and presumably bring back the Jedi. Avar was, allowing this order of high mightiness to persist, right? She wasn't doing anything against that.
No.
I think the way that Avar was able to go after Yoda in round 1, I think if we look at it pound for pound, it might be Rey, but I do think that you can't undersell how important it was that Avar was able to, save a star system. And clearly, just because we don't have the content yet, we don't know what else she did, but like, she probably did a bunch of other stuff. I know that's not fair to judge up based on, right?
Yeah.
But I don't know. Where are you thinking right now? Where's your head at?
I mean, I think you're right. Like Avar Chris like did do some like pretty cool stuff in terms of she saved Hetzal and everything, but I just think we have more time with Rey, and
Yeah.
I think we've seen her, do more things with the Force, honestly, and defeating the Emperor, as much as like we don't really necessarily like how that movie came to that point, like that is a very like that's a pretty big thing.
But yeah, only one other person has done that before, like.
Yeah, like that's a pretty big deal, I think.
Mhm.
So I mean, I think personally, when it comes between the two of them, I think Rey is just the choice for me.
Mhm.
I see what you mean with Avar Chris. I think Flight of the Jedi made a compelling argument for her being a very powerful Jedi, but I think we just have more time with Rey. And
Mhm.
that's not to say that as we start to sort of dive more into the High Republic, that we're going to learn more about Avar Chris. And I wouldn't be surprised that over time she does become a more powerful figure in the Jedi Order than Rey. But I think for now, personally, what I would do is I would move Rey up. But I'm willing to hear the other side of the argument.
No, I also like firmly believe it's Rey. I wanted to like lead with the, like Avar's great, but like, because
Yeah,
I think it, like, yes, Avar, I believe there's a potential where she becomes this like fan favorite, again MVP, book in and book out. But I think I think it's Rey. It's very clearly Rey. I think here, like, everything she did a lot in all the movies. She really did. Like,
yeah,
she was able to um basically show up against Kylo Ren. She was able to play a part in the destruction of the Supreme Leader, Snoke. Um,
yep.
Rebuild, like, save the entire remnants of the Resistance and help rebuild that, and then destroy the Emperor and the Sith religion, and
Legit.
then presumably go on to rebuild the Jedi Order, right? And I know it's
Right.
presumptions, but that's still a lot, and I think that is more than enough to give her the win this round.
Yeah, I think Rey is definitely the winner of this matchup for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So moving on, we have the number 4 seed Obi-Wan Kenobi against the number 5 seed Ahsoka Tano.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think about this one? I mean, I don't know. I think this is obviously, to me. I think I know exactly how this one should match up. I know. I personally, I would know who I would choose. But Christian, what do you think?
This is painful to me.
Yeah, I know. I know.
So hear me out.
Mhm.
I think similarly to the way we talked about Mace Windu being clearly, like, skilled and strong in the Force and in dueling capabilities and morals of the Jedi at play, Obi-Wan, I think, is the perfect Jedi, right? I've said that before. I think he's the perfect template of the best of the Jedi Order. It's Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
At the same time, Ahsoka had the foresight to see the issues with the Order and realized that it couldn't be fixed and walked away.
Mm-hmm.
I think that might be what gets me to vote Ahsoka on this one. Even though I love Obi-Wan.
I know that's a very compelling argument, Christian. Like,
Yeah.
she was definitely, like, you could argue, like, a wiser Jedi than even Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
She saw the flaws of the Jedi. She was very aware. She was like hyper aware of this.
Mm-hmm.
And she even says in the Clone Wars, like, all my life, like, I was trained to like be a soldier. Like, what's up with that? You know what I mean? Like, no one else was thinking that. Obi-Wan Kenobi was just like, completely embracing the fact that he was a general now, that he was like part of the military,
Mm-hmm.
essentially.
And
And yep.
I was gonna say, and just to further that, the way he talked to Satine about it, because, like, obviously we see Ahsoka fall in line with the Mandalorians pretty frequently, and
Hmm.
while she does, she doesn't turn away from violence. Like, Satine and a lot of the thought process of that was like the Jedi are not what they say they are, and
Hmm.
I think if you strip down the Order to like what the Jedi stand for, in a lot of ways, even though I think Obi-Wan is like the template, I think Ahsoka stands for a lot of those ideals morally more than the entire council.
Oh, I would agree totally. This is definitely a tough one, but honestly, Christian, you've made a very compelling argument to choose Ahsoka over Obi-Wan. So
And
I think that's what we should do.
I agree, and it hurts me. It hurts. I love Kenobi, but you know, he took his number at one point. He died. He made a sacrifice, but he still died.
He did, yeah.
So
Well, interesting. That's a very interesting choice. We'll see how that plays out. Moving on, the number 2 seed, Anakin Skywalker, versus the number 7 seed, his son, Luke Skywalker. Oh my. This is a quite the matchup, I think.
do you have a gut choice yet? Because I would like to
Yep.
start there, maybe.
Yeah. I would say my gut choice is Luke.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, okay. Anakin Skywalker, I think, is we know that he's the most powerful force user, right?
Mhm.
This is just something we know, right? This is something the movies have sort of told us again and again and again. But when we're talking about when we're doing this ranking, when we're thinking about ideals and and everything like that, I feel like Luke Skywalker sort of embodies the Jedi more in a different way,
Mhm.
and also the fact that he is just so dang powerful with the Force that he is able to sort of just transcend his own humanity and become a legend in this universe. I think
Mhm.
that's a really big thing too.
For,
Anakin Skywalker for most of his existence, um, was just a bad guy.
for me, I view both of them on an equivalence for power level, right? Like obviously Luke
I yeah.
failed to Vader a couple times, but it's because he lacked training. Um,
Mhm.
so I think they're kind of 1-to-1 power level wise, you know.
You're right. Actually, you're right. They're more equal for sure.
So I think for me, what it comes down to is the way they deal with their failures. I think Anakin, you know, his failure resulted in genocide,
Yeah.
fascism, and a laundry list of other terrible things. Luke, well, I don't think he's perfect, also owned up to it. Like he didn't harm anyone directly by his failures, right? Like
Only
people,
himself, really.
right? People died because of him, and he walked away and could have been helping people and wasn't. So there's that, but he also owned up to it, right? And he realized his mistake. He did his best to fix his mistake, sacrificed his life to do that, and then again was able to rekindle hope in the galaxy the way that Luke Skywalker should. The name of Luke Skywalker should, right? So
Mhm.
on that alone, I think I would give it to Luke, just because he's not as yes, he can lash out, but I think he's a little wiser than Anakin.
Yeah, you think he's more principled a little bit,
Yeah.
in the.
Mm.
Yeah, I think for sure. Luke Skywalker, while he's definitely not, a perfect character, he certainly has his flaws,
Mm.
which I think just makes him a stronger character, honestly.
Yeah.
And you're right, the way that he sort of overcomes that and takes ownership over his failures is something that Anakin Skywalker never did.
Mm-hmm.
Well, only did at the very last moment of his
Yeah.
life. So,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely would have to say Luke Skywalker takes it on this one for
Mm-hmm.
sure. Interesting. So moving on, we have the number 14 seed, Joe Costanu, versus the number 4 seed, Qui-Gon Jinn. So this is a very interesting matchup as well. What do you think about this one?
I think it's interesting because they both play a very important role to
Mm,
this order, right? It's more pronounced, I think, slightly in the films with Qui-Gon. But again, he's around for one movie. Jocasta's in the background a lot in the movies in the Clone Wars. Qui-Gon is referenced in the Clone Wars a little bit, and then in expanded material, we have, I think, what comes down to the deciding factor, right?
mm.
So I think it depends on what you value more in this discussion. Is it the archiving of Jedi knowledge that was passed down eventually to Luke and then to Rey to allow the Order to be rebuilt, or is it the development, I guess, scientifically made by Qui-Gon on how to become a Force ghost, right? Like, I think that's what you have to look at, because they both died at the hands of Sith, right? So it's like, I think battle-wise, yeah, Qui-Gon has the edge for, you know, probably like the number of battles he won, but that's because Jocasta wasn't really fighting much.
Right.
So what do you think?
I don't know, man. Like, I think you made a really interesting point that, like, you made a point earlier that without Qui-Gon Jinn, like, we would have never had, like, Anakin Skywalker, right?
Yeah.
But that means that we also would never have had, the mass genocide and the fascism that you also mentioned earlier, right? So, in a way, is kind of responsible for that. And Jocasta knew, you know, she while she's also, you know, sort of responsible in her own way for the fall of the Jedi Order in terms of like her hubris and just like her devotion to the dogma, she was very influential and very, you know, instrumental in sort of like keeping that history alive, like you said. So I don't know what I value more in this one. I feel like they're both on like very similar planes, and it's kind of interesting to talk about them in this way. I've never sort of like thought of these two characters head to head, but they both sort of have similar motives in a way. And it's just which one was more influential, which one was more, you know, I guess if we're talking about power in terms of the Force, I feel like they might be equal. Maybe Qui-Gon's a bit, you know, takes the cake a bit more, but you're right. They both died by Sith. Like,
Like,
it's just, I don't know.
this is what my gut's telling me right now. Like, Qui-Gon, look at it this way. Like, Qui-Gon went against the Order pretty frequently, right? And that was the reason he wasn't on the Council, because he wanted that agency. I think the willingness to go against the principles, or not even the principles of the Jedi, but just the Order itself, the Council.
That's true.
I think despite bringing on genocide of the Order,
which is like a pretty big thing.
It is. I think the Jedi were destined to falter at some point, right?
Yeah, it's not completely his fault.
Yeah, so like I think also look at it. One of my favorite things about Last Jedi, sometimes you know, like burn the old one down, kill the past, whatever. He resulted in that, which allowed, you know, again, not a good thing to happen, but at the end of it all, we get Rey to rebuild the Jedi Order, presumably for some prosperity in time, maybe. You know, like, the Emperor is dead, so are the Sith at the end of that movie. So, like, we reached a point, right? You know?
Right.
And Jocasta, what, like you said, was very dogmatic and was sticking to that, you know? So I think that might be what picks it for me. Like, even though he brought on Anakin and Vader, like, he was able to spit in the face of the Council at times.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's a very important point, and thank you for bringing that up, Christian. Yeah, he definitely was able to sort of do that in a way that wasn't like Jedi didn't really spit in the face of the Council that much, and so he did it in a way that was sort of groundbreaking. And though he did sort of bring on Anakin Skywalker, it is an important point to say that, like, the Jedi were already on a crash course anyway. He just sort of pushed it along unknowingly. So to say it was really his fault is sort of not true. There was no way he could have known. So yeah, I guess we should say Qui-Gon wins that one. Moving on to the semifinals, we have the number 8 seed Rey against the number 5 seed Ahsoka Tano. This is interesting. This is really an interesting one.
I did not think that we would come into this.
I didn't think we'd come into this
either. Unrelated to everything we've been talking about, I hate when some people are like, I don't hate women in Star Wars, I just don't like Rey, and I love Ahsoka. Like, I hate that so much. So just it makes you go like, eh, for a second. But like,
yeah,
obviously we're not touching on that, right? But like, no. I don't know, because I think the way we've been making these choices, what you've done, I think again, Rey might have an edge.
Yep. I think like. In a way, I don't know how deserved that is, right? I just feel like Ahsoka Tano just like she embodies like the traditional Jedi ideals like more than really any Jedi ever had on screen, I feel. And that's I feel like that's really important too.
Mm-hmm.
Rey sort of just like rewrites what is a Jedi essentially, because she's like the only one.
Yes. Because
But I think in terms, yeah,
I was gonna say on that level, I think it's similar because like Ahsoka, she doesn't identify as a Jedi after she leaves, right? But I think to the fandom, it's like, oh, she's the most pure Jedi there is. You know, the white sabers, of course, that like symbolically, very pure, what a Jedi should be, and she does that on her own accord, and then just spends another however many years helping people doing stuff, right?
Right.
Rey, for the trilogy, is like struggling to reach the, I guess, quota of what those texts say a Jedi should be, because that's what Luke thought they should be, and then failed. You know, Luke failed because he was replicating what the order originally was.
Right.
So Rey also did some rewriting, like you said, similar to Ahsoka. We just haven't seen like what has come of that yet. We saw her journey to that point, but we haven't seen anything after the fact.
Exactly. Yeah.
But like, it's just she killed the Emperor.
I know it's like really hard to put. Like I've gone on record many times on this podcast. It's no secret that I don't really like the Rise of Skywalker. And I don't really like the ending, and I don't really like how the Emperor comes back, and I just like don't really like the fact that like, yeah, Rey killed the Emperor. You know what I mean? Like, it's just an objective fact when it comes to the Star Wars universe. Christian, this is tough.
Yeah, because it's hard because I think power level wise, yes, it's Rey.
Yeah.
And that, but I think for a lot of these matchups, we've been doing power level as well as Jedi-ness of them, right? So like it's hard because I think Rey is clearly, out of all of these people that are left, I think clearly Rey has done the things that are the most impressive physically. But Ahsoka, I think, is the one that lives up to capital J Jedi the most in the best ways without any of the issues. So I don't know which one's more important to me here.
I think, I don't know. I think they're both really great choices, to be honest with you. And I think, in my opinion, my gut is telling me Ahsoka over Rey, just because of the fact that you like what you said. She embodies like she's like the purest Jedi, and they make a point to sort of show that to the viewer and everything. And Rey, while she's super powerful, sort of has to like create her own. She has to be her own trailblazer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Ahsoka, I feel like she embodies what was good about, the failings of the Jedi and everything like that. So I don't know. I think personally, like, honestly, just like coming down to a personal level, I think I just like Ahsoka's character more. So for me, I would say Ahsoka. What do you think?
I'm having a very hard time choosing this. But if you are dead set on Ahsoka, I won't fight you on that. Because the thing is, I think that's a fine choice. I think that's a good choice. But I think both of them are winners here. Because the thing is, they're on each respective thing we're judging on, it's one is the perfect one at one thing, one's perfect at the other thing. So it's like, which one is more important? I think they're both important.
Yeah, they definitely are both important. I hate to be that guy, but like I just think I just personally like Ahsoka's character more, and that might be why I'm saying that I like that. Like, just being fully transparent.
Yeah, because I do think there's like a slight bias there. Like I'm there with you because we've just had more time with Ahsoka, right? Like we've known her since 2007, 8 when that Clone Wars movie came out. You know? Yeah. I feel like I do want to see what Rey does next. Like I want to see what she does to rebuild this order in a way she thinks is better. But we don't have that yet. The same way with like Avar, we don't have like the rest of her legacy yet. Ahsoka, we still won't know where she ends up, but we've seen more of her lifespan. And I do think if you compare Ahsoka, like the way she's meant to be like a foil to Anakin, of like, hey, yeah, they kind of think the same things. Like they realize the issues and the hypocrisy of the Jedi, but like again, if you look at the way Luke did it versus Anakin, I think the way Ahsoka did it versus Anakin is much more productive. And she was able to, I think, be that force that held the Jedi ideals up when the Empire was reigning. So I think Ahsoka might also, I think Ahsoka.
Yeah, it's really tough.
Yeah.
But I think, Ahsoka definitely, in this ranking at least, will win over Rey. Okay, so moving on, we have the number 7 seed Luke Skywalker against the number 6 seed Qui-Gon Jinn. So what do you think about this one? I mean, I honestly have a pretty strong opinion about this.
It's Luke.
It's Luke. Like we love Qui-Gon, we really do. But there's no you got to just pick Luke when it comes to the matchup here. It's no question.
You know, I think if you need to justify it, Qui-Gon brought on genocide. Luke brought on. Well, how long was the Empire hunting and existing? Was it 30 years before New Hope, or was it 20? It was 20.
Yeah.
So wait, okay, hold on. Qui-Gon brought on like 30 years of 25, let's say 25 years of the Empire. Luke brought on 30 years of the First Order being around there.
True.
So there's that, but like obviously, well, also the First Order destroyed a star system. I forgot about that.
Well, I mean the First Order, but that's the thing though. The First Order really didn't gain Luke Skywalker, the First Order wasn't really a threat until the Force Awakens. You know,
right? They were looming, but
they were a looming threat, but they really didn't strike until they blew up. What was the name of that star system? I forget. But so I don't know. I think Luke's. I don't know, man.
It's Luke. It's Luke.
Yeah, it's Luke. Like
I was bringing up my justification for why it should be Luke, and then I realized I was like, okay, they both brought on kind of similar things, but yeah. Luke was able to walk it off and help everybody. Qui-Gon died.
Yeah.
So
all right, so that's an easy one right there. So I guess that brings us to our final matchups, right? We have the bronze match, and we also have the match for first here. And I think we should just do the bronze match first.
Agreed.
Who gets third? So we have Rey versus Qui-Gon Jinn. It's interesting stuff.
I think this is an easy choice. I think it's Rey, personally.
Yeah, I think it's Rey too. We love Qui-Gon Jinn, we really do, but we just gotta have Rey be the winner of this one for sure.
Fourth place, nothing to sneeze at,
No, fourth place is definitely not anything to sneeze at.
So, congrats, Rey, first winner.
Congratulations, Rey. Yes. So that leaves the number one for the number one spot here. The number 5 seed Ahsoka Tano versus the number 7 seed Luke Skywalker. So what do we got? It's a tough one right now, I think.
Now, obviously both products of Anakin to a certain degree.
Literally.
Yeah. And I think, again, Mike, the way that when we decided Anakin versus Luke, we have to look at how they dealt with their failures. I think I'm going to bring it up here too. I think if you have to look at Ahsoka's, I guess, like failures, like her big moment of change versus Luke's, failure. Luke went into hiding for 30 years. Ahsoka didn't really give up. Like, she kept helping people, across the galaxy for that entire time period. Presumably she still is.
Yeah.
She was out there doing stuff when Luke was drinking milk and meditating.
For sure. And, I think it's really interesting because she left the Jedi Order, right? And after she was blamed for the bombing of the Jedi Temple, and she still is strong enough to realize that it isn't really all about her, and she ends up helping the Jedi once again,
Mhm.
right? She ends up sort of like, sort of, I don't want to say rejoining the Jedi Order because she definitely doesn't do that, but she sort of like joins their ranks and realizes that, the conflict that's going on is much bigger than her, right?
Mhm.
So she's selfless in that way, and I think that that's like really, really like a very interesting quality to have, and something that I'm not sure Luke Skywalker can say he has.
Mhm.
Like he left for 30 years. It's a pretty selfish thing to do.
Yeah.
Um,
And like, yeah, he did, reignite hope in the galaxy, but I think that's comparable to how Anakin, like the Hail Mary move is like, okay, last thing I can try.
yeah,
um and also like even if Luke was starting to build a temple, despite what happened to it, presumably Ahsoka was the one that gave him his first student in getting Grogu on his way to finding
mm,
Luke, right? Like,
yeah,
I, I think Ahsoka is more pure. She's more behind the scenes in a lot of this time period, but I think that's what you're saying of like her being selfless. She doesn't ask for recognition. Luke's entire like the period on the story of Luke Skywalker is what's up? I got my laser sword. Like he's
yeah,
doing it mentally, but like he's still like you know sustaining that image of the Jedi being these warriors. So I think
right.
there's a level there too. But like I personally I'm leaning Ahsoka. I don't know how you feel about it though. I know you love Luke.
I really love Luke. I really do. But I think that when we're ranking them the way that we've been ranking them, I just think it makes more sense to put Ahsoka as the number one Jedi. I think she's like the best case study for like, a selfless, like she's what the Jedi should be. And
Hmm.
and I think that is like what Dave Filoni has tried to like sort of put through. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Uh, he sort of tried to make that part of, Ahsoka in the shows like Clone Wars and Rebels, and Luke Skywalker is definitely a flawed person and a flawed Jedi, and to me, Ahsoka takes it. So
Yeah, I agree. And also, I told you this before. Again, headcanon, so not relevant. But I could see a world where over the course of all these shows we're getting, that like Luke and Ahsoka meet, and she's like, "Hey, I'll tell you about what your dad was like. I'll tell you all the issues this order had." And then the reason in 8, he's like, "Oh, I know all these things about Sidious. I know these things about how they fell, the hubris. It's because of her." I could see that being
yeah,
a very real possibility. She was the eyewitness there, unless Grogu can tell him what happened. But like, I don't think that's gonna happen.
no, I don't
So
think so. Um, well, that's quite the matchup. So I think we finished our bracket for top Jedi's, or sorry, top Jedi
mhm.
rather. And we have number one taking the gold, Ahsoka Tano, and that's snaps to
Snaps.
Ahsoka. Number two, we have the OG Jedi, uh, Luke Skywalker, of course. Uh, snaps. Number three, taking the bronze, we have Ray, which is deserved, I think,
Yeah.
for sure.
New World Order.
Yes, New World Order.
Rise
Go
Skywalker.
Ray.
Yes.
Yeah, and honorable mention number four, Qui-Gon Jinn. Let's
Hell
just
yeah.
give
Yeah. Deserving.
All right, so there we go. That's our Joy Clicks Jedi Knights um, Jedi power rankings.
Hell yeah. Official.
Nice, official.
Yeah.
So yeah, do you have anything to say that you want to say about that, Christian? Or
It was fun. Again, I like doing the brackets. And I again deserving. I think, I think we made the right choices. I look at those top 3. I think that is correct, right? Like
Mhm.
for all the reasons we've given, Ahsoka, Luke, and Rey, I think are the Jedi. As much as I love Obi-Wan, and as much as I say he's like the guy, he's the Jedi. Like he still failed. He still was part of that system that failed.
Yep, he is.
The 3 of these characters were able to touch base in some degree with what the Jedi should be and allow them to live on after all these failures.
Right.
So seeing them be the top 3, and then the shout out to the one that started it all of being like screw the council, fourth place being Qui-Gon Jinn. I think we made the right calls.
I think we definitely made the right calls. I'm pretty happy with the way that this turned out,
Me
and
too.
I'm excited to do. I think we have three more lined up. We won't necessarily say them right now; it'll be a surprise.
Yeah.
But
Hmm.
we got some more cool brackets lined up for future episodes this month.
Hell
So
yeah,
stay tuned.
for sure.
All right, Christian, why don't you take us out to sea?
Sounds good. This show is available on youtube.com/joyclicks if you want the video version, as well as all of our other podcasts on their different playlists, like My First Mon, our Pokemon show, Excelsior,
Yep.
all the others. But if you want the audio version of this podcast specifically, you can go to your podcast service of choice, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, whatever you use. Under Jedi Knights, you can listen to the show. If you enjoy the episode or the show, be sure to give the show a 5-star rating because it helps us out if you enjoy it and just takes a quick second. And if you want to get involved further, patreon.com/joyclicks. There's the $1 and $5 tiers. $5 tier gets you producer credit on all of our podcasts, like Chris Sakis and Aaron Easton. So thank you very much. And Mike, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me on Twitter at Mike P. Connors. And I have to say, I was recently listening to Excelsior, and I was listening to the podcast where you and Jack talked about the ending to WandaVision. It was a great episode. Very insightful. So
Thank you.
go listen to that.
Thank you, Mike. And you can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. 3 T's at Chun2D2. CHUN2D2. And yeah, we'll be back next week with another bracket in March Madness Star Wars Edition. It's been a blast doing these. I'll post the template on the Jedi Knights Twitter, Jedi Knights JC. If you want to fill it out, you can see the matchups that we had to go through. But yeah, that's gonna do it.
Yeah,
so,
you can make your own and everything. So why not?
yeah. So until next week, we're fine. Everything's fine. How are you?
May the force be with you.
Oh, yes, you're right. Beep is up.